Hello there. When it comes to acting families, certainly one of the more well-known is the Baldwin family. Though, admittedly, one tends to be more talented than the others, and I'm going to count down my favorite performances of his. No, it's not Daniel. It's not Billy either. He was in Thomas the Tank Engine? Yep, now you know what I'm talking about. Here are my favorite Alec Baldwin performances. One Trip in The Aviator. Certainly not the last antagonistic role of his we'll see on this list. His portrayal of the former head of Pan Am Airlines is actually quite a multi-layered role, showing the cutthroat nature of the airplane business. We sense his dislike of Howard Hughes and the way he creepily uses his influence to mess with him. It's a quite intense role that Baldwin does very well in playing. Certainly the best scene where we get a sense of Tripp's lack of sympathy for Hughes is when he visits him while he is in his famous reclusive state. He will stop at nothing to control the skies, and Baldwin allows him to feel like a real person and not a mustache-twirling baddie. Captain Ellerby in The Departed. Yet another role in a Martin Scorsese film, his performance fits well with the darkly comic tone of the piece. Baldwin brings an intensity to the part, and he interacts well with Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg. It's an interesting development of the character in that while he's shown to be an intelligent policeman with his head on his shoulders, it's understandable why he's unable to figure out that Colin is a mole for the Mafia. Even though the role is not as big or as important as the other major characters in The Departed, Baldwin still makes a great and memorable impact. His guest spots on Saturday Night Live. Alec Baldwin has a standing invitation to host SNL every year, which is why he holds the record for the person who's hosted the most times. His most famous sketch is the double entendre-filled Sweaty Balls, but he has also proven to have a knack for impressions and comedic timing in other parts. He seems willing to do just about everything the writers hand him, and he certainly delivers. I watched the Best of Alec Baldwin DVD in preparation for this, and most of the skits were quite funny. One of them, where his office worker finds out what he actually sounds like, is a particular riot. While SNL tends to be hit or miss, sometimes going for the easy joke a good amount of the time, they seem to give Baldwin some of their strongest material. Adam Maitland in Beetlejuice. While Michael Keaton sold the show in this, Alec Baldwin certainly did a very good job of playing a simple model maker who becomes a ghost. His chemistry with Geena Davis is great, and he brings the appropriate excitement at the right moments. He doesn't normally play these gosh darn it types, but he makes Adam likable enough, and like his SNL roles, he delivers his lines with the right sense of humor. Oddly enough, he has not made a film with Tim Burton since, but Beetlejuice 2 is coming up, so maybe he'll make an appearance. It would certainly be welcome based on his work in the first film. Robert McNamara in Path to War. Playing the man very much involved in how the Vietnam War was fought, Baldwin managed to show why McNamara was so sure why this war was an easy win, and make it understandable why Lyndon Johnson didn't move away from it. He doesn't portray him as cold and calculating, but rather somebody with a plan, and displays the confidence excellently. Baldwin also nicely plays his more vulnerable side, especially with his home life. We sense his mind ticking, especially as tensions run high about how to deal with Vietnam. Any moment he could lose his cool, and he doesn't. Path to War is a great examination of what might have happened within the White House and Pentagon walls, and Baldwin's performance is definitely a standout. Peter Hoskins in Prelude to a Kiss. This is a different sort of romance than what one might expect when the co-star is Meg Ryan. It actually presents some interesting ideas and theories about love, and Baldwin manages to make his character sympathetic and his dialogue believable. We really understand why him and Ryan have this connection, but when a major change happens that shifts the plot considerably, Baldwin suitably adapts. He does very well in presenting Peter's confusion and sorrow, and that makes the end all the more touching. Prelude to a Kiss has mostly been forgotten in the seas of time, but I think it holds up well, and it's good to see Alec Baldwin take on a different sort of role than we're usually accustomed to see him as. Blake in Glengarry, Glen Ross. It's always impressive when an actor can make a small appearance in a film and ends up stealing the show from the main cast members. Certainly one of the best examples of this is his motivational salesman in the film adaptation of David Mamet's play. There's an intensity in the role, especially when he bursts into that famous monologue. He manages to deliver every word with conviction, and long after the scene ends, you're still thinking about it. In many ways, it sums up the entire movie as we delve into the simple existence of these salesmen. It's all about selling, selling, selling. Alec Baldwin steps in, delivers his lines, goes, and we never forget him. Shelly Kaplow, in The Cooler. Playing the head of a casino who has an employee with the ability of getting people to lose, Baldwin is so slimy in the role. Yet we also see somebody trying to deal with the changing tides of Las Vegas into more of a theme park. Baldwin is one of those actors who's able to be intense merely through whispers, and every word is felt, not unlike his role in Glengarry, Glen Ross. It's a villainous role, but not one without layers. Even as the title Cooler starts changing the odds of the casino, and people start winning, he still feels a kinship towards him. Baldwin received his first, and so far only Oscar nomination for this role, and it was very well deserved. Joe Devine, in The Last Shot. I mentioned this movie before on my Matthew Broderick countdown, but it really is one of the best underseen comedies I've seen. In the role of an undervalued FBI agent assigned to produce a fake film to catch some mobsters, Baldwin does an excellent job at showing how his character changes. Before he realizes it, he's completely excited about actually producing a real movie, and we feel his enthusiasm. Jeff Nathanson's screenplay gives him some razor-sharp lines to say, and he's absolutely hilarious in the part. Yet he captures the emotional moments well too, and he has note-perfect chemistry with Broderick. Again, if you have not seen The Last Shot, I highly recommend it. It's one of the sharpest Hollywood-based comedies out there, and Baldwin nails it. And my top favorite Alec Baldwin performance is Jack Donaghy in 30 Rock. Casting Baldwin in this role was a stroke of genius on Tina Fey's part, because he knocks it out of the park. Despite playing an executive with wild ideas on how to improve NBC's profits, he manages to make the character quite sympathetic. Of course, he gets some of the funniest lines in the entirety of the series, and it's hard not to admire his ambition. Baldwin's chemistry with Tina Fey is excellent, almost like a confused father-daughter relationship. And the way Donaghy evolves through the series is well developed. For what could be a one-note character, it soon became one of the highlights of tuning into every episode of 30 Rock, and certainly the highlight of Alec Baldwin's impressive roster of performances. And with that, I'll see you next time.